Italy, 1943. The sun barely pierced the morning fog over the hills. A small Allied unit moved cautiously through the shattered village streets. Their orders were clear, but what awaited them was anything but predictable. By the autumn of 1943, Italy was a country divided. The northern regions remained under firm Axis control, while the south had begun to see Allied advances. The war had turned many villages into ghost towns, their stone walls scarred by shelling and small skirmishes. Soldiers on both sides were exhausted. Morale fluctuated daily, often more influenced by rumor than by reality. In this tense environment, a small Allied task force received a mission intended to cut off a German supply route near a remote village in the Apennine Mountains. The intelligence was promising. Recon reports suggested minimal enemy presence, a few patrols at most. The unit's orders were simple: infiltrate under the cover of darkness, sabotage the road, and withdraw before detection. The plan seemed straightforward. It had the sheen of precision. It was supposed to be a quick strike. The soldiers were mostly young men, some barely 20. Their training had prepared them for exercises, but not the unpredictable chaos of real combat in the Italian countryside. They moved in tight formations, voices hushed, boots crunching on frosted leaves. Each man carried more than weapons; they carried fatigue, fear, and the hope that the operation would succeed without bloodshed. Supplies were limited. Rations were meager, and communications with headquarters relied on runners or a fragile radio link. The terrain was unforgiving. Narrow passes, steep hillsides, and the constant threat of enemy observation made even basic movements hazardous. Yet, confidence ran high. Officers reminded their men of previous successful operations. Success was assumed. As the unit approached the outskirts of the target village, the first signs of trouble emerged. Abandoned farms hinted at hasty retreats. Smoke from burned-out cottages suggested recent skirmishes. Local civilians had either fled or gone into hiding. The soldiers exchanged nervous glances. Something did not feel right. The intelligence had painted a picture of ease. Reality suggested otherwise. Night fell. Shadows thickened. The men split into smaller teams, preparing explosives and checking weapons. Leaders discussed fallback plans, though their options were limited. The operation's success depended on speed and secrecy. Any delay could unravel everything. Despite tension, the men pressed forward, guided by maps, compasses, and the faint glow of moonlight. It was in these moments, moving through empty streets and ruined buildings, that the fragility of the mission became apparent. The silence was almost complete. Yet in the stillness, danger lurked. Every distant noise, every flicker of movement could signal a German patrol. The unit was moving blind into uncertainty, unaware that the village held more enemy forces than their intelligence had revealed. The operation began at midnight. Soldiers approached the main road under the cover of fog. Explosives were carefully placed along the edges of the path. The team worked with precision, nerves taut. Success depended on coordination. One misstep could alert the enemy. Initial progress was smooth. No immediate resistance. Then, a sudden burst of machine gun fire shattered the quiet. A German patrol had detected movement. Chaos erupted. Soldiers ducked behind walls and abandoned carts. Orders became difficult to follow. Panic spread. The meticulous plan collapsed in minutes. Communication lines failed. Radio signals were weak. Runners could not navigate the terrain under fire. Decisions had to be made on the spot. Some teams attempted to complete their objective. Others scrambled to regroup. The fog, once a cover, became a shroud of confusion. As the firefight escalated, it became clear the intelligence had been flawed. The village housed a larger garrison, with reinforcements arriving from nearby positions. The Allied unit was outnumbered, trapped, and exposed. Casualties mounted. Soldiers who had trained for months found themselves disoriented and terrified. Every street corner and ruined building concealed unseen threats. Leaders faced impossible choices. Should they continue the mission or retreat immediately? The narrow paths and steep terrain made movement slow. Explosives could not be safely detonated amid gunfire. Every attempt to advance or withdraw carried deadly risk. The operation, intended to be swift and decisive, turned into a desperate struggle for survival. Amid the chaos, acts of courage and tragedy unfolded. A soldier carried a wounded comrade across open ground. Another attempted to regroup stragglers under a hail of bullets. Yet the overwhelming numbers of the enemy left little room for heroics. The village, once an ordinary cluster of homes and fields, became a trap. Hours passed. Darkness gave way to the first light of dawn. Exhausted soldiers were scattered, some captured, others missing. The planned sabotage was incomplete. Supplies were lost. Hope waned. The mission's failure became inevitable. What had begun as a confident strike ended in confusion and loss. The village became a scene of utter devastation. Smoke rose from fires set during the skirmishes. Debris littered the roads. Soldiers lay wounded, some beyond help. Those who survived the initial ambush faced relentless pursuit. The Germans, now fully aware of the Allied presence, methodically cleared the area. In one dramatic sequence, a small group attempted a breakout through the hills. Enemy fire forced them to take cover in crumbling buildings. Men were isolated. Radios were destroyed. Every movement carried deadly consequences. The unit's structure disintegrated. Discipline gave way to survival instincts. By midday, only fragments of the original team remained. The operation had failed utterly. Casualties were high. Equipment and supplies were lost. Strategic objectives were abandoned. Reports sent to headquarters conveyed the grim reality. The mission, meant to be a quick strike, had become a catastrophe. What remained of the soldiers hid in the surrounding woods. Exhaustion, hunger, and fear dominated. The enemy had not only repelled them but inflicted severe losses. Families and comrades would later learn of the missing men, though details remained sparse. The operation was noted in records but soon faded from memory. The climax of the event was not marked by victory or clear resolution. It was marked by silence, confusion, and the human cost of a mission gone awry. Individual bravery mattered little against overwhelming numbers and flawed intelligence. The village itself bore the scars, a testament to the operation that had gone horribly wrong. The soldiers vanished into the dense forests surrounding the village. The paths they had traveled were empty, silent. Smoke lingered over the broken rooftops, curling lazily into the sky. Few of the men returned. Those who did were exhausted, disoriented, and carrying memories that could not be shared. Their names were recorded in reports. Then they were largely forgotten. The mission itself faded from memory, reduced to a few lines in dusty archives, almost invisible to history. The village remained. Its streets, once filled with cautious movement and whispered orders, were now eerily quiet. Broken doors swung on their hinges. Windows stared blankly into empty rooms. Supplies left behind rotted where they had fallen. The buildings, scarred from gunfire and explosions, bore silent testimony to the failed operation. Nature began to reclaim the ruins. Weeds sprouted between stones. Vines climbed walls. The silence of abandonment was complete, a stark contrast to the chaos of the previous night. Families of the missing soldiers waited in vain. Letters never arrived. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. News came in fragments, often inaccurate or incomplete. The operation's survivors were few, and they returned quietly, sometimes never speaking of what had happened. Their voices carried the weight of loss. Their eyes told stories they could not voice. Those who remained alive carried the event in silence, a burden invisible to others. Time passed. The world continued its course. Other battles took center stage. Maps changed hands, front lines shifted, and the attention of historians and the public moved elsewhere. The village slowly recovered in a superficial sense. Roads were repaired, rubble cleared. Buildings were patched and repurposed. Yet the memory of that night lingered, intangible but persistent, in the shadows of walls and the cracks of stone. The silence became profound. The event existed only in fragments, official reports, hastily written diaries, faded photographs, and fleeting mentions in letters. Faces of the lost soldiers blurred over the years. Their bravery, fear, and pain faded from collective memory. Even those who survived could not preserve the full truth. Each recollection was partial, incomplete, and haunted by the missing pieces of the story. Historical records barely acknowledged the operation. Scholars overlooked it. Military historians, focused on larger campaigns, rarely mentioned the details. The soldiers' struggle, their courage, and their suffering were almost erased from the narrative. Only fragments remained. The mission, once a calculated plan, was reduced to whispers and notes in archives. The event became a ghost, existing only as a shadow in memory. The village, though repaired, remained haunted by absence. Empty streets and abandoned buildings bore silent witness. Even as seasons changed and nature grew over the scars of battle, the sense of loss persisted. The operation had left a void. There was no victory to celebrate. No lesson widely taught. Only emptiness and quiet lingered. The stories of those who vanished remained untold, and those who survived rarely spoke. Italy, 1943. The operation ended in total failure. Its consequences were immediate and tangible for the soldiers and the village. Its memory faded from public attention. Silence enveloped the landscape. The ruins held only echoes. Names, faces, and voices of those who suffered and disappeared were barely preserved. The record exists, but only faintly. History had almost forgotten. The mission, its people, and its failures became a shadow. Forgotten, yet present in the quiet that remained. Total failure. If this story mattered to you, consider subscribing. More forgotten history is coming.